Right, welcome back, everybody. Still in conversation with our Finance Minister, Malusi Gigaba. Before the break, we asked him the question, what's it like being in Treasury now? Is this a different world altogether? People are banging your door down for money. You before were banging the Treasury's door down for money. Is government working with you, your ministers, your colleagues, or are you finding it a bit difficult?
The colleagues are. The colleagues are. And I think it is always better that we enjoy the support of the presidency, and that helps in a way. But in another way, it doesn't help that much because you are viewed as a, I don't know whether as a Cinderella, no, not as a Cinderella. You are viewed as a brat of sorts because at your instance, you get the president to convene a special cabinet meeting. Because you must appoint a CEO of SAA, or you get things twisted here and there. Sometimes you come to cabinet without a memo serving before cabinet committees before. It goes straight into cabinet and people feel, but why do you get special treatment? But it's the nature of the job, and because here we don't have long lead times to be able to do things. We need to take decisions quickly in order to achieve certain objectives. It's a difficult environment, and people are demanding money all the time. There's nobody who comes to you and says, hey, Minister, how about you take this 2 billion rand from my budget and use it for something else? No. They always want more. And some would say that, no, I'm only asking for just 1 billion.
That's all.
No,
just 1 billion. Come on. You know I'm good for it.
And
it's a different story altogether, isn't it? Minister, I'm going to go to the floor now. We have got Khasant Abada. There he is, Khasant. I'm sure many of you know him, whether you read his work or you've seen him. But he's here from independent media, and he is going to facilitate some of the questions from the floor. Khasant, great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Leanne, and thank you, Minister. Before we get to the tough questions, I've got one of my own. We heard the growth forecast for 2018, very pedestrian. Where would you like to have it, Minister, say by 2025, and how do we get there? So think about that one, but I'm going to go to our host here, Executive Editor for Business Report, and also the brainchild behind this event, BR Ignite, RD Cynical de Vet, to ask our first question.
I must say, though, that when you move to difficult questions, I will then also pull out the big guns to answer the difficult questions. I was only told I'm here for the simple questions. And breakfast.
Thank you very much, Minister, and congratulations on a very truthful MTBS that you delivered yesterday. I think we should host the main budget right here. There's no interruptions here. It's not a question that I really want to ask, but there's a lot of rumors about another reshuffling. What are your thoughts around that? Reshuffling of cabinet?
I don't know. I don't think about it. But obviously, in this environment, you don't want those rumors. You don't want those rumors at all, because they contribute to the political uncertainty that makes it difficult for investors to open their capital and invest. I think South Africa has been very negatively affected by own goals in recent months, and I think we're in a situation which is very much largely made up of own goals, policy uncertainty, and political uncertainty. And so such uncertainty contributes to the negative outlook that the ratings agencies have given us, as well as the hesitance by the investors to invest, because they don't know which direction the country is going to take. Not just in the medium-term future, but in the immediate future. So such rumors are really counterproductive, and I think we would do well as a country to provide greater certainty, greater assurances to investors and the ratings agencies so that we can give the economy the time it needs in order to recover. I think the message that I drove yesterday was that we are in difficult times, but such uncertainties don't help. That's why throughout the speech, I kept repeating the statement, procrastination must end, dithering. We need to be decisive. We need to provide certainty. It's in our hands. I was trying to get that message that such uncertainties are not helpful. The economy must be given time. We must not interfere.
Minister, there's also critics. Cassandra, I'm going to just interrupt there and then come to you again for another question. What do you say to the critics? And I think I'm glad you brought it up, that you won't get any interruptions in this room, but you were interrupted in Parliament before you even got up there. And the state capture issue, the Gupta issue, all shrouding your appointment around being the finance minister. What do you have to say about that?
You know, as I say, I keep saying, I did not appoint myself. I did not apply for the job. There was no advertisement. I was not interviewed for this job. I was only called on a Thursday evening and told that you are now moving to finance. There was no prior discussion. In actual fact, the people who work with me at Home Affairs knew, because we had Home Affairs meetings, and when they said to me, Minister, there are rumors of an impending reshuffle, I said to them, I don't care about that, it won't affect me. I was very, very sure that I was going to be staying on at Home Affairs until I actually got the call, and I looked at them and said, well, guys, you were right, I was wrong. So I don't know what those rumors are about, what that criticism is about, and I think that the people who can best answer the question are my political principals who make the decision about my appointments or the appointment of any other minister. But I think it's going to be necessary that we all support the process of a commission.
Good.
Because it's going to put paid to all the rumors about and the allegations about state of capture and clarify the niggling questions that have been asked about this, and whether you are dealing with one source or there are others also who have their influence in the state in one way or the other. So the country does need to deal with these perceptions of corruption and whether our state is captured, the extent and scale of that capture of the state, so that we can
move on, which we hope that the Commission will get around soon. Kusant, there you are. You've got a question for us there.
Leanne, we sometimes guilty of being very inward-looking in South Africa, so I've got a diplomatic, a foreign perspective here. I'm joined by Ambassador Doley. Ambassador, you've got a question.
Yes, good morning, Minister, and good morning, Deputy Minister Buthelezi. And I address you as well as the Governor of the African Development Bank, an institution I served for the U.S. As an international investor, let me assure you that your budget yesterday was what I would call a Rubicon budget. The New York Times spoke about, only yesterday morning, the apartheid economy of South Africa. Your budget speaks to a different side of that. We went from an apartheid system of sanctions to an open system for investments. We think that what you have done is a watershed budget. And as an international investor, you sent a signal to a group of investors that I represent as the lead investor, and we're going to invest over the next several months. We're committing over $1 billion to invest in the South African economy. In technology, education, and agribusiness. In technology, that's the future, to train young people to employ young people, and we want to be your partner. I'm going to tell you something you will seldom, if ever, hear. We want to come here and pay taxes. We want to make money so we can help you reduce your deficit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. Certainly didn't expect that. But Minister, more of a comment, question, your response?
We appreciate that. We appreciate it. I think what we were trying to demonstrate yesterday to international and domestic investors is that we are honest about our challenges, but we also know where we need to intervene to grow the economy. You will have noticed, indeed, that during the speech yesterday, I spent a lot of time talking about manufacturing, talking about research and development and innovation, talking about the fact that we will continue, our budget continues progressively to invest in human capital over the medium term, and we will continue investing in about 948 billion rand over the next 3 years in infrastructure development, largely driven by state-owned companies. So we indeed need private sector investments to come in, both domestic and international, and that for that to happen, we must, of course, pay great attention to providing the stability, the certainty that the investors need, so that when they invest, and that's why I also indicated that government is proceeding with the auction of spectrum. The Minister of Telecommunications has received the report from the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, and that we are going to start talking to the mining chamber, because as government, we want to resolve the deadlock with the mining sector over the mining charter. If possible, I would love to see us resolving that deadlock outside court processes, so that we can get the investments into mining back, whilst we are able to address the issues of transformation and get the mining sector in South Africa to continue being the driver for industrialization and value addition.
All right, I'm going to interrupt. We've got literally 5 more minutes left on air, and then, of course, you can continue to get some questions. But, Minister, there's a few questions that have been coming up from viewers as well, and there's 2 that I would like to pose to you, and if you could answer them quite quickly in the given time, even though they're big issues. Tertiary education, big issue. We saw the protests that were happening yesterday. I'm sure you saw some of the visuals, and it must upset you to see something like that, where South African students are fighting for education. However, Jacob Zuma, our president, continues to sit on the higher education funding report, which of course is causing this instability, and the funding may need to come, obviously, from you as a matter of urgency. So I want you to address the tertiary education. And then secondly, one of the issues that we brought up earlier, and again, it's probably one of the biggest things to have come out of the budget, is that shortfall and the fact that South Africans appear, or maybe you can correct me, to be on a tax revolt. 51 billion rand in a shortfall. A lot of people expressing a lack of confidence and holding back taxes and all of these issues, and that is expected to grow. So let's talk about, firstly, tertiary education, and then secondly, that so-called tax revolt from South Africans.
Look, I did address the issue of higher education in the statement yesterday, and indicated that it will continue. Over the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, it's been the fastest growing area of the expenditure of the budget. And it's going to continue like that for another year or 2. And it grows from about 77 billion rand to over 97 billion rand in the next year or 2. And we're trying to address the needs of your low and middle income students who cannot afford higher education. But the president is soon going to release the report. He's considering the options, he's going to release the report, and then the budget will talk about the funding issues for higher education. So I'm not too worried. I think we will address it at the budget next year. But with regard to the shortfall, it's largely because of the poor performance of the economy. It's largely because of the poor performance of the economy. If the economy was performing well, we wouldn't be having difficulties. And I think that to the extent that there are issues of confidence about tax administration, there are mechanisms within tax administration to deal with those who are withholding their taxes. But we are addressing some of the concerns, including the issues which have been raised by the tax ombudsman. We are improving the capacity of the revenue service. I am in discussions with the commissioner of SARS about addressing some of the concerns which have been raised. And I think that the main issue are just the performance of the economy.
Right.
There are less jobs, the economy is not doing well, less investments, therefore there are less taxpayers.
Finally, 1 minute, well done, thank you. You've even given me one more question. The rand is tanking while we speak. It's at 14.15 now against the dollar. Are you worried?
The South African exchange rate is a floating exchange rate. It will become weaker for a variety of reasons, and I think that we need to pay great attention right to what we have to do to grow the economy and provide greater stabilization. I think the news that we have been bearing over the last 2 days, yesterday and today, are shocking for everybody, and I think the markets themselves are shocked. We need to move from being from focusing on the performance of the exchange rate to focusing on what we need to do in order to improve investor confidence and therefore get our rand to also perform well. But overall, it's the economy that we need to pay attention to and create jobs.
Minister, we thank you on behalf of the SABC and Morning Live for your time, for the answers. We also would like to thank independent media for allowing us and South Africans to listen in to the Minister. I know that this is going to continue, so you'll be able to ask a lot more questions here in the room. And thank you very much, South Africa, as well, for sending in your tweets, your comments. I think it was a very honest budget. I think the Minister has laid bare the books open on the table for everybody to see. But now it's a matter of moving forward. So we thank you very, very much for tuning in to Morning Live, for watching us on this Thursday morning. Have a wonderful day. Back in studio tomorrow. God bless you and thank you. And Hassan, thank you very much for your help as well.